Today's episode of Round Guy Radio is going to be brought to you by Henshaw Trailer Sales of Richland, Iowa, the Packwood Locker, and Smithburg Auto of Fairfield, Iowa. And the Cedar Rapids Titans Arena Football Team, and you'll be able to see them on Round Guy Radio starting Sunday at 5 p.m., and we'll have all their home games for you. We've got Andy Krutzinger of the Southeast Iowa Union. Welcome to the program, Andy.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's been a kind of an exciting year. We got some playoff matches to talk about, but I want to kind of make some announcements about some of the different players that we picked for the all-round guy team and the all-round guy freshman team. Let me get back to so let's see. One of the freshman team is a kid that plays for Highland. Gosh, his name's kind of slipping by me right now. Who's the good player for Highland that's a freshman?
Let's see. You are probably talking about
Kyler Fink.
Fink. Yeah, Fink, which is the Finks are taking over Sports of Highland because I believe he's Cameron's sister, or is Cameron's brother. His sister is a super athlete. I'll be seeing him and the Huskies on Friday night against New London.
Okay. Another player is Taggett from Fort Madison. I don't know if you had a chance to see him. And Jack Ragar of Holy Trinity. And see, there was one more freshman from, I think, Burlington, Notre Dame. I'm not very organized this morning, I guess. Let me see here.
Let's see. Who's Notre Dame have as the freshman?
I think he's
Porter. They got a Porter kid that's a freshman. They have the youngest Porter.
All right. Well, let's talk about him a little bit.
Let me see some Notre Dame. I get to see Burlington Notre Dame for the first time.
Kellen Porter. He is the guy.
Yep, he's the younger brother of Brigham Porter, Blaze Porter, and Mason Porter, who played for New London. He goes to Notre Dame, so he actually plays against his brother a couple times a year. But I got to see Notre Dame play for the first time all year in the Super Conference Championship. Usually Notre Dame's a team that I see, a couple times because we don't cover them, but they play against some of our teams. But the first time I got to see him was against Hillcrest Academy in the Super Conference title game. And man, the second half, Notre Dame was very impressive. They looked pretty darn unstoppable. So I'm excited to see what they could do as far as the tournament's concerned. They've done the work that they needed to do to get the top seed, and it's going to be interesting to see if they can kind of beat the curse of a lot of times the top 1A boys team around here gets upset by another team from the area. So we'll see if they kind of stop that trend.
All right, so here's the list of the all-round guy team, and Shea Stevens and Jackson Clark. Shea Stevens from Notre Dame, Jackson Clark from Keokuk are on top of this list. But we also has Max Griffin from Minneapolis, Lane Rung from Holy Trinity, Aiden Figueroa from West Burlington, Isaiah Big Bang Lang there from Mount Pleasant, and then two more, Nolan Guzman from Fort Madison, and our very own Cole Milliken there from Pekin. Do you have anything to say about those fellers?
Well, I got to see Isaiah Lang and Figueroa go at it a couple days ago. Mount Pleasant versus West Burlington. That was a fun little matchup. Mount Pleasant, a little different now. Noah Lang got hurt against the Tumwa, so he won't be able to come back for the season. So Isaiah kind of has to be the man down low for them, and so Figueroa and Isaiah Lang were going right at it toe to toe, and I should be able to see Mr. Cole Milliken play here pretty soon, tournament wise. I wonder if I got the Pekin first round game, but I'll tell you what, Pekin is that team, in my opinion, that they maybe lost some early ones that they shouldn't have, or didn't have as good a record as I thought. They're that sneaky team that I wouldn't be surprised if they just start knocking off higher seeded teams and make a huge run at it.
Yeah, they had a big win over Winfield Mount Union, a 1 point last second shot to get a win. I thought the roof was going to come off of the building when they did that one. Also, we had the coach of the year for the North, certainly a deserving feller, is Coach Swanson from Pekin. I thought he was terrific this year, and he's got a lot of talent. He ain't got a lot of hype, but I think they won 11 games in a row. I would say there's somewhere around 14-2 or something in the second half.
Yeah, they've been one of the best teams. I'm trying to pull up the stinking postseason brackets here that they let out. Bound is messing up because I'm trying to look at the kind of the potential matches. But we've had, especially in the North, I would say, Hillcrest has been a little step above everybody this year, but they're not too far up ahead of Pekin and Winfield could both make a big run. Waco, if they can get going and make a big run too. So there are some teams kind of that are spattered around, especially in the North Division, where who knows who the best team in the North is going to be when it comes to the bracket play.
Well, we're about to find out, as they say. Well, you got the brackets pulled up. I got a couple games I know off the top of my head, but there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I'm for some reason Bounds messing up, but luckily for me, SoutheastIowaUnion.com will have the brackets because Mr. Jack Nolan did a story on them, so I'm pulling that up instead. Right now, Bounds for some reason just has 2 brackets available, and neither of them are the brackets we need. So why don't I go ahead and pull up Jack's story on these brackets? There we go.
Bound never fails to disappoint me.
There we go. That's right. So luckily we got backups in this thing. So I will be on Friday night. Oh crap! Team Canada just scored knocking. By the way, I will be on Friday night in good old New London, Iowa, where New London and Highland will play in the 8-9 game. That should be a fun one. Highland has definitely played better this year than they have in the last couple of years. They've definitely taken a step up, and so this is a big opportunity for them. New London is a team where I think that I'm their good luck charm because the two times I saw New London play, they played really, really well. I saw them push Mount Pleasant for maybe 2.5 quarters where it was right down to the wire, and then I saw them beat Van Buren County. So I'm excited for that. And then if the winner of that will play Notre Dame, so Brigham Porter's trying to earn the right to play against his little brother in that next round matchup. But that's one of the more exciting games I'm looking forward to. That's in Sub-State 5, District 6, or District 9 is in 1A. We also had we have like Winfield Mount Union host Danville. That's going to be a really good one. We have Hillcrest plays Wapello. Kyoto plays Twin Cedars, and if they win, Hillcrest will play Kyoto. And we remember last year, Hillcrest and Kyoto played one of the more exciting games in the tournament. I think it could be a really fun one this year. So in 1A, those are kind of some of the more fun little matchups. And then I'm of course looking forward to seeing how Mid-Prairie does. Mid-Prairie is playing awesome right now, and it could be Mid-Prairie and Minneapolis again in the
Mid-Prairie just light
semifinals.
up Washington like a Christmas tree the other night?
Fairfield, they light up. They did. Mid-Prairie did beat Washington, but it was close until it was pretty close game. Mid-Prairie won by like 12. But Fairfield was the game where they just went crazy. They scored 30 points in the first quarter. They looked unstoppable, and then they crushed Alburnett one night later.
Yeah, I seen that. That was nice. Alburnett has been a little thorn in the side of Southeast Iowa teams, and it was very nice to get one on them there.
Yeah. So, I mean, Mid-Prairie, they're if I had to bet, they're our team that's like that is a team that's dangerous enough to go to state for sure.
Okay. What about, do you know Sigourney plays or not?
Sigourney plays against, let's see who the heck does Sigourney play against? They should be over in are they the 4 seed and the one that Kyoto's a 3 seed? Let me see if I can
I
find
think they'd
Sigourney
be a
on this
2
little
seed
thing.
or something. They only lost 4 games the whole year.
Yeah, Sigourney's a good team. Let's see. Varsity Down really needs to figure itself out over here because
well, if we don't have it, we can move on to something else, and maybe we'll.
But I'll see if I can. It might be on their schedule here, so let me go ahead pull up their schedule. Sometimes you could look at it that way. Oh yeah, you're right though. Sigourney did finish with a better record than Kyoto, and they beat them in that last one. So they play against Molten Udell.
Okay.
in the first round Class 1 at District 4. It doesn't have it's unclickable, so you can't see they play if they win. But they man, Sigourney put it on Centerville a couple nights ago. I mean,
Yeah.
Centerville by 22 points.
Well, they're
Jeez.
good. I mean, they really have a great team this year. You know, they had such a great JV team last year, and they're kind of bearing some of the fruit from that. But yeah, Coach Islick has a lot to work with over there, and might even have beat Montezuma. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, they did a couple ones against Kyoto. I think one in overtime, but they got, I know Pekin had a close game with them, but Pekin came out on top, but I don't know if they've lost since then. But yeah, they got a lot going. Well, what about Kyoto? What do you know about them? I didn't get a chance to see them this year.
Yeah. So first off, that Sigourney Centerville game. Apparently, Sigourney outscored Centerville 20-1 in the fourth quarter to win that game by 22 points. So it was really close to the end. Yeah. So Kyoto plays. They play in the same like foursome of the bracket as Hillcrest Academy. They would have to beat Twin Cedars in the first round. That's District 10 class. So Class 1A, District 10, which is part of Substate 5. So Hillcrest plays Wapello on one side, Kyoto plays Twin Cedars on the other side. So the favorites won out. Hillcrest and Kyoto could play in the number 2 versus number 3 game. That's in District 10. And then what is that? I gotta look to see where.
Kyoto did get a win against Hillcrest Academy earlier this year.
Yeah, they did. They were, and so that's a definitely like a potential. I mean, man, were you at the Kyoto Hillcrest Academy playoff game last year, the tournament game at Hillcrest?
I think it was.
That was a good one. That was the one that I can remember from last year as being the real good one. And so I guess it would be back at Hillcrest because they would be the 2 seed and Kyoto would be the 3. So it'd be a nice little rematch for those two teams. But that was really fun last year. So we'll see if they go back at it. I'll tell you what, Hillcrest, they in the first half against Notre Dame, they were really kept right up with them. You know, they got into a little bit of foul trouble, and they just had a third quarter where there were some lapses. They just couldn't figure it out on defense, and Notre Dame was able to line them up like Notre Dame can do. But with Hillcrest playing, you know, as sharp as they can play, they are a team that certainly wouldn't be blown out by anybody in the tournament, especially the teams down here in their local bracket.
I got to see them a few times this year. You know, Round That Radio starting to be pretty popular up there at Hillcrest, and getting to know the fans and everything up there. Fairfield played them a good game, a real good game. But they got these three players, Scott and Bailey and Rowan
Yep.
Miller, and
Yep.
they play good ball, and you can't make no mistakes, because if you make a mistake, they make you pay. But I think they only had 3 losses on the year: one to Kyoto, one to Pekin, and one there. I imagine it was Burlington Notre Dame in the shootout that they.
Yeah, right at the end there.
Yeah, pretty good. That Shea Stevens is some kind of wonderful, and so is Jackson Clark. And I also think Malachi Rice there in Centerville. All 3 of them are leading the state in their classes in scoring, and I know Jackson Clark's leading them in rebounding too.
Yeah, that Rice kid is a pretty incredible kid to watch.
All right. Well,
Um,
what other games? Oh, what about Pekin?
let's see. So Pekin goes. They're the 2 seed in District 9. So they have to beat Seymour in the first round. That's over there at Pekin, and then the Winfield Mount Union. Oh wait, I guess they wouldn't play Winfield. Oh, they would play the winner of Waco and Holy Trinity Catholic, which I believe Waco and Holy Trinity played earlier this year. But Waco is the 6 and Holy Trinity is the 3. So the winner of if Pekin were to win, the winner of that game would get the job of going up there to Pekin and trying to knock off the Panthers.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting. I'm planning on doing that game on YouTube, but not live. If that matchup comes to match, I did get the Holy Trinity Waco game. That was very early. I think I was second game of the year. Holy Trinity is very, very good, but Waco also pretty respectable. And Holden Hughes is probably their best player, but they seem to be able to evenly distribute the scoring, and it seems like everybody's in it. So that should be a very, very good game too.
Yeah, Waco's a team where, and it's going to be more harder to do this when it's the tournament, the pressure's on, but just getting the ball up the court against Waco, their guards have really, really quick hands, and so just getting into your sets and stuff like that, you don't want to play a team, that might be able to poke a few balls away and get a few steals in the backcourt, and change the game like that. So, Waco had a little bit of they fumbled a little bit in early February. Winfield Mount Union really put it on them, and so did West Burlington, but they came back and beat Wapello at home the other night. So let's see. Yeah, they played Holy Trinity, and they played on December 8th. Holy Trinity beat them 69-54. That was at Waco. This one will be at Holy Trinity.
Okay. Yeah, that's the third year in a row for that same matchup in the first round of playoffs.
All right.
Yeah. So I talked to Coach Roth, and he says, "Well, at least we're familiar with them, but we'll see how that one goes. That should be a good one." But Pekin's been really, really hot, but I do think if they could get past Holy Trinity or Waco in the next round, I think they'd have to play Burlington Notre Dame, wouldn't they?
Pekin would eventually have to play Notre Dame. Now let's see here. Pekin is in 1A5 against Seymour President. Doesn't say what district that is, because Notre Dame is in 1A5 as well. So they'd have to play each other in the sub-state. Now, I'm trying to figure out if Pekin's in 10 or if they're in 9 here. Of course, with Bound Down, you can't quite check that. But yeah, Pekin and Notre Dame would have to play. If they won out, they'd have to play each other before they got to state. Pretty much everyone. It's because Notre Dame was a really high seed this year because they did so well. They got a high ranking this year. The whole sub-state is basically Southeast Iowa. Sometimes if there's not a team that's in the top 10 or the top 8, they'll drag someone from like Cedar Rapids area or something like that to be the true number 1 seed. But because of how well Notre Dame's been this year, it's pretty much someone down here is going to go because they're all playing against each other.
Well, it's sure been an exciting year, and I imagine you and I have both put on a lot of miles and seen a lot of basketball. Is there any other playoff matchups we haven't got a chance to talk about? I know we haven't talked about Mid-Prairie yet.
Yeah, Mid-Prairie plays. They play again. Oh, they have a bye. They have a bye in the first round.
Oh, good.
But if Mediapolis can beat, well, they'll play the winner of Mediapolis and Wise Muscatine. So Mediapolis would obviously be the favorite in that. And so that'd be Mid-Prairie Mediapolis. Talk about a game that
That'd be a fun one.
happens every year. Yeah, it seems like Mediapolis and Mid-Prairie always play them in the tournaments in every sport. And that would be a really fun one. I'll tell you what, Mid-Prairie, if you can't slow them down, if you can't make them stop and have to like figure stuff out in the half court and slow the pace of play, they will just run you right out of the building because they're not afraid to shoot early. They got kids that can hit shots. That if Bryce Henry is having a good day, then it's kind of like best of luck to who he's going against because he'll put up a 3 with a dude right in his face and just drain it in his eye over and over and over again. And they have Mid-Prairie is just so athletic. That'll be a really fun matchup if they get Mediapolis. I did get to see Mediapolis play against Winfield Union the other day. Meepo beat Winfield by 5. Play a real strong game, but Mediapolis really have to lock down defensively to knock off Mid-Prairie this season.
Well, Winfield Mount Union, I believe, tied with Pekin for second place in the North. Have you got a chance to see them? And I know they've been playing. They're always good on defense. They're sometimes good on offense, but they always play a very strong defense. Tell me who they play and what you think of them.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I saw them against. So even though they tied, they got the number 2 seed by tiebreaker for the shootout. So they played against Mediapolis in the game right before the Hillcrest Notre Dame game, and they could not put the ball in the basket in the first 3 quarters. But then you just kept looking up at the scoring. You'd say, oh man, it's only 12, 13 point game. It's really not over yet, even though they've been playing poorly. And then all of a sudden Isaac Egley started to hit shots. That was really the big difference maker. And they came all the way back to, they had a shot with like 20 seconds left down 4, a 3-pointer that rattled out. They would have cut that thing to 1 point. So, yeah, Winfield, they got a lot of bigger kids. They got a lot of guys that can score inside. Even their guards are, a little bigger and stronger at least. And so that's a big reason why they're so good defensively. And when Egley started going, in that shootout game. And then that gave them a little speed, a little outside to go with their inside game, and they looked really good. They also have, Winfield has not really been totally healthy and all together this year, and now they are. I think Brian Fox missed a few games. He had a nice little spurt there in their comeback. Of course, they have Max Edwards who can make a shot from it, the inside, but he can also step out a little bit. They've got Milks, and they are Winfield's got a lot of weapons to throw at you. But you're right, defense is what will win them games in the tournament for sure.
Well, I am pretty excited for these playoffs. Is there any other ones that we haven't got to talk about yet? Well,
So
Van Buren.
Cardinal. Oh yeah. Cardinal and Van Buren are both in Substate 5, District 9 of 2A. So it looks it's the exact same numbers. It's District 9, Substate 5, but this is a 2A. Van Buren County plays at Eddyville, Blakesburg, Fremont, and Cardinal plays at West Burlington. That Van Buren County EBF matchup should be really, really close. And yeah, and then Cardinal West Burlington's a strong team, so Cardinal will have to lock in to see if they can knock off the Falcons over there. So really, Cardinal will be playing closer to us than they usually do over the nose. I'm closer to West Burlington than the Cardinals. So, but and then if they win, like if Van Buren County and Cardinal were to win, they would be playing against the top seeds, and so they would have to win twice to play against each other.
Okay. I got to see Highland for a minute and a half, and then that young man broke his leg, and that game was over. Tell me a little bit about Cardinal. It did seem like I've seen him get a win somewhere before Christmas or right after, but I haven't been keeping up with him.
Yeah, Cardinal. They play in the South Central. They've had a few really close games here as of late. They did have a non-close game against Knoxville, who's friggin' just a superpower for some reason this year. But Cardinal lost by 2 against Sheraton at home. That was a really close game where they almost got SEC win. They almost beat Davis County. They lost to them by 6. They almost beat Eddyville, Blakesburg, Fremont. They lost to them by 6. So they've had a lot of these go. They almost beat Clark. They lost to them by 2. So they've had a ton of close games in their conference schedule. They haven't been able to put a lot away. And then the exact same. I mean, they hosted Columbus in a non-conference in the 9th, and same thing. Columbus beat them by 7. So they're playing good enough to stick with teams. Maybe they're just waiting. Maybe they're just waiting around to have that big that one where they can pull off the upset. But I mean they have Cardinal is a fairly senior led team. They got a lot of guys, Elijah Frazee and Caden Courtney, that have played multiple years of varsity basketball. So they do have age and talent on the team, but they just it's a West Burlington will be a tough matchup for them. West Burlington with Figueroa inside, he's really tough to slow down, and they're going to need to. I think guard play is pretty even between the two teams, but they're going to have to figure out a way to slow West Burlington down with that inside game.
Well, that's outstanding. Did we talk about New London?
We haven't, not super detailed, but they play. They're who I'll be watching first here when they play. They play against Highland in the first round. I'll be there on Friday night. So New London is a team that, as I said, that I've kind of been their good luck charm, and man, they've been playing pretty well.
They're playing very well in the second half here. I was kind of wondering
3 out of 4.
I wonder how Van Buren and New London would have fared if they were in the north instead of the south.
Yeah, that what when the South has had some really kind of overpowered teams, but New London got a win against Waco, who's a strong North team, and New London beat Lone Tree the other day. In fact, they've won. New London the last 2 games have been maybe their 2 best games of the year. They beat Cardinal by 34 points, and then they beat Lone Tree by 17. So man, when I saw them play against Van Buren County about a month ago, January 13th. They were really strong. They have 3 kids that can get to the rim at will, basically. Porter and the Franklins, and they've got some big time shooters. The first game I saw against Mount Pleasant, Israel Limley hit like 5 threes right away. So they had Gavin Strawhacker and Swanson are good players that give them a little bit of different skills. They have somebody that can do everything. They have shooters. They have guys that can go inside. It's just that they haven't, I don't think they've been able to play consistently enough to knock off one of the big dogs. I think they played somebody really good into maybe Holy Trinity to overtime. That they went to overtime with a really good team this year. But besides those, like the Waco game, they haven't been able to knock off a team that you'd say is like kind of above them in the
Yeah, I
pecking
forgot
order.
about
But
that. That
yeah,
was a big win.
Holy Trinity.
That was a big win over
Yeah,
Waco.
they did. And Holy Trinity, that New London took Holy Trinity to overtime.
Well, that's
It was a bad
Holy Trinity,
overtime for
really
New
good
London.
team
But
there. Well, tell me, there's three teams you may know something about them and may not know something about them, and because they're teams just outside of your coverage area, and that's Minneapolis, Danville, and Central Lee. Just teams that I kind of got an eye on there. Didn't get to see Danville, or I got to see a game of Central Lee when they played Pekin. Looked very good in that game to me. They had a pretty good record, had a really good season. I did get a chance to have a Meepo and Holy Trinity on earlier this year. Do you know anything about those three matchups, sir?
uh, I saw Minneapolis play against Winfield Mount Union. That's the only one that I really have not seen. I haven't seen Danville or Central Lee this year. Two teams. I usually see them kind of on my road. Danville's playing really good. They crushed Davis County the other day. I thought New London was playing. I thought pretty good going into the game when they played Danville at New London on the 30th. And so, like going into that game, I remember saying like, "Oh, that could be a classic game," and it was not. Danville ran away with it. So yeah, you know, I'll tell you what, Danville at Winfield Union. That's a matchup I've seen a couple times in the postseason. So that should be one of the closer games that we have. That's at Winfield, and it's on the 16th. So that we have first round games like New Highland is not, even though that's an opener. That's not the same round as the Danville Winfield game. It's Danville Winfield. There are two teams that have a not really a bye. There's like more pigtails for the lower seeded teams, but so that's an extremely exciting matchup when they go at it. And then yeah, I don't see Central Lee like at all. And Central Lee's a team that I usually see a good amount because Central Lee is actually physically pretty darn close to me, and so I usually go see one of our teams play over there. But I know Central Lee's strong. I know teams have struggled to score any points against them, but I haven't seen them play yet.
Okay. Well, is that all the schools that? Because I know the bigger schools don't have their assignments yet.
Yeah, the big schools, the big three schools, Fairfield, Mount Pleasant, and Washington, don't have their assignments yet. I have been trying to look and kind of guess, with those three, what they're going to do. There are a lot of teams in Southeast Iowa that are not super high ranked, but they're like in the top 15. Like so, Solon is number 8. I think Xavier's number 9. And then Keokuk is not ranked on the top 10, but they're good enough. They're probably like 14th or 15th or whatever. So I'm wondering if they could keep everyone in the same bracket and put those three teams in, and then have your Mount Pleasant, Washingtons, and Fairfields below that to keep everyone. That would be a really even and fun bracket if that happened. Because the one thing I would say that I would hope for those three teams and for all the teams, even like Keokuk, is not to have a situation where they put Pella as the number 1 seed and drag him over this way, because our teams have not had a lot of success against Pella.
Oskaloosa got them a couple times this year, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
and Mount Pleasant did beat Oskaloosa, so there we
yeah,
go. But
Oskaloosa. That was a big. I just got done talking to Coach Rawson. Well, you guys cover. You do such a good job. I am jealous of how good you cover the Washington Demons and the Mount Pleasant Panthers over there. Tell me a little bit. It seemed like Washington couldn't lose in the first half and can't win in the second half, and it's almost the exact opposite for Mount Pleasant. I think Mount Pleasant has a pretty serious opportunity to go past Washington, depending on what happens tomorrow night.
yeah, they do actually. Yeah, if in the standings they're tied right now. Washington beat Mount Pleasant at the beginning of the year, which Mount Pleasant did not have Noah Lang or Ryan Helling. And then Mount Pleasant beat Washington just recently with those two guys. Now, if they played again, like let's say they got the 4 and the 5 seed in the tournament, Mount Pleasant will only have one of those guys because Noah's out, but Helling is still there. So Mount Pleasant, and it really stinks that that Noah Lang got hurt, because they beat Oskaloosa, they beat Mid-Prairie, they were leading against Keokuk in the fourth quarter. They were a team that I was like, and they still could make a big run, but I was like, oh my gosh, they could about beat anybody, when it comes to the tournament. They were playing at a totally new level. So I could see, I could see Mount Pleasant and Washington playing in the 4-5 tournament game, because they are right now they're tied Washington has to play Burlington and Mount Pleasant has to play Fairfield. So yeah, if Mount Pleasant won and Washington lost, Mount Pleasant would jump in the standings. I don't know, if they got the same district. I don't know if they would necessarily mean that game would be in Mount Pleasant, but if we can get them together in the 4-5 game, we'll have it on Southeast Iowa Union's video network because Mount Pleasant Live covers all the Mount Pleasant home games and Southeast Iowa Live covers all the Washington home games. So either way, we'll be following any home games that either of those two teams have come tournament time.
Okay, that's pretty much the 3A schools, the Southeast Conference teams that you cover. I know Burlington had a really good season. Nobody
Yep.
could get past Jackson Clark and Keokuk, but I think the rest of it's, kind of, that was one of the deals where most of the games were pretty competitive. You got anything to say about the SEC at all overall? Anything else or any players or anything you want to talk about?
Well, I'll say yeah. First off, yeah, Keokuk's awesome, and I see Keokuk actually beat Notre Dame in that matchup a couple bites ago. Yeah, Keokuk really they got challenged a couple times. Burlington was up 10 points on Keokuk at the beginning of the year, and then Keokuk came back and won. And then Mount Pleasant was leading them early in the fourth the other day, and Keokuk came back and won. But I don't see any reason for them to pull Keokuk away. Keokuk's all the way in the Southeast Iowa corner, so they would almost Keokuk's always going to be in the same brackets as a couple of teams around here. So they still have to play at Fort Massa on the 13th. Fort Massa, of course, playing a little better now that they're healthy. Oh, Keokuk plays Quincy Notre Dame on the 20th. That's kind of a fun battle. But so Keokuk has had a lot of games. They played West Hancock, which is a good Illinois school. So they've had a lot of games where they've been able to kind of tune up against stronger teams. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to be the big bad down here where, they're going to draw like they could get a Washington or a Fort Madison or even a Mount Pleasant in the first round or the second round down here. They are very strong. And if they're playing against a team that doesn't have any big guys or guys that can play a little defense inside, then they're going to. I mean, Notre Dame's an awesome team, and Jackson Clark had 23 points and 27 rebounds in that game the other night against them. So
Rebounding machine, isn't he?
he is. So that's a big difference. I know that Keokuk has had a couple games like, I was really excited to see how they do against Pella. They had a rough game against Pella when they played them. So they've had a couple games against those other top like 3A teams, and they lost to Oskaloosa as well in a really close game. But but we'll see. I mean, Keokuk's definitely going to be, in my opinion, a number 2 or a number 3 seed in the sub-state. And if they're a number 3 seed, that's going to be because they pulled like the 8-9 together or something. If they pull like Pella down here, or they pull a really high ranked team down here, I'd say they'd probably make Keokuk the 2 seed, so they'd be a favorite to go to the sub-state final. But you never know. The tournament shakes things up a lot, and I've seen that happen a lot where teams that got their butts kicked in the regular season all of a sudden come and beat those same teams or challenge those same teams when tournament time comes. So excited to see what happens. And I honestly hope that the Southeast Conference 5 teams, because Burlington's at 4A, but I hope those teams do get in the same bracket so we can see if go at it a couple more times.
All right. Well, is there a team, and it could be from any team, just we're just speculating here, but is there a team that you see playing well down the stretch that could maybe be a dark horse or get a some kind of a upset in the tournament?
Yeah, well, first off, as far as going to state, any team that we cover is a dark horse. We didn't get any 1 seeds. I guess I wouldn't even be able to call Mid-Prairie a dark horse because they're playing, so well. Pekin definitely, they're playing very, very well down the stretch. They're a team that can sneak through. I think Winfield Mount Union, you talk about having size and defense, and if you're playing in those closer, low-scoring games, they could make a run at it for sure. Let's see. I would have said if Nolan didn't get hurt, I would have said Mount Pleasant is the ultimate dark horse because I could have saw them making a run from like a 5 seed because they technically have a losing record. But I mean, Hillcrest Academy obviously they have the inside game to battle with really good teams if they keep everything kind of slowed down and use that advantage. But it's hard for me to call a dark horse, Hillcrest a dark horse or Mid-Prairie dark horse because of how they did in their conference. But I'd say those teams all have a shot. I mean, Waco's, they have the guards to do it. So it really depends on game flow. But the funny thing is that someone's going to be a quote unquote dark horse for sure because they're all playing against each other. So somebody's going to score it out of there and go to the bigger games, which is fun. So I'm excited for for to see who can make it to those district championship, sub-state championship games where everybody comes out. It's all crazy and it's standing room only and all that stuff. So. But yeah, as far as dark horse, I guess I'd consider Pekin and Whitfield more dark horses that because they didn't win their conference and have worse seeds. But if I'm allowed to cheat and call like Mid-Prairie a dark horse because they're not a
Yeah, but they could make them. They could get to a point where they could get it in a situation where they were the underdog somewhere in
yeah.
the
I mean
playoff.
Mid-Prairie is like a Mid-Prairie. I'd say is just a dark horse in the 2A field. Period. They could beat anybody when they're playing so as well as they have been. So
Well,
we have a lot of teams that are under the radar this year because I don't cover Notre Dame. Because the other teams haven't made any appearances in the rankings or anything like that.
well, let's talk about teams that could go the furthest in Southeast Iowa. I would have to put Notre Dame as a number one team that maybe be a contender to be at the state tournament. You'd have to think Keokuk would be one. Mid Prairie probably have a shot at going to sub-state or a little beyond that. Hillcrest probably would be in there, and maybe even a Meepo might be a kind of a dark horse candidate. They play really well.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. So Notre Dame's in a good spot where they are a high seed. They're the number one seed. They have a bunch of teams they've already beaten in their bracket, and if they could get through. I think they're ranked like 3 or 4 right now. So they would, if they could get through Tuesday, they would be a favorite in the first round, or they would, be the quote unquote home team. And I mean, Keokuk, it's all about the matchup because, you think about how hard is it going to be for teams that haven't played Keokuk and Keokuk got a matchup with somebody in the Des Moines area or in the, Dubuque area that they haven't played. It's got to be really hard to play Keokuk the first time because you have to figure out how to stop them inside and, you don't have to, it's not like, Keokuk plays a Southeast Conference team, the second or third time around, at least they've had a little experience of trying to slow them down a little bit. So I'd say that Keokuk, just because of the overall size and because of how many points they get right at the basket, that could be a huge advantage when it comes to tournament time.
All right. Was there a game that you were at this year that you thought was, an exciting thriller to be at that caught your attention?
That's a good question. I'd say, I mean, the West Burlington Mount Pleasant game the other day was really close. It went into overtime. Isaiah Lang had a layup at the buzzer in regulation, and then West Burlington was able to pull away in that overtime. Let's see, did I have any buzzer beaters or anything crazy like that? There was they don't win a lot. They don't win a lot otherwise, but the Fairfield Mount Pleasant girls matchups were both right down to the wire. Let's see here if I can. I got to wrap my brain on these teams. I watched Waco and Hillcrest play. That was pretty good, but it wasn't right down to the wire. I'm not sure if I saw a buzzer beater besides at that West Burlington Mount Pleasant game, which was a buzzer beater to send it to overtime. So maybe I'm just waiting for my big one here in the tournament. Fairfield versus Ottumwa was one where Fairfield had to erase a huge deficit and they almost beat them. And Ottumwa kind of had to cling on right at the end of there, and that got really exciting. But I haven't seen a buzzer beater winner this year. I usually do by now, so maybe the tournament has one in store. Maybe I'll see one on Friday night in New London.
Well, there's always that chance every time we step into the gym. Well, was there any performances that you saw this year? You could have a career night or get a lot of rebounds or something that you can remember that got to your attention.
Well, I was on hand for Jackson Clark scoring 51 points against Fairfield. That was a huge game. I was on hand for what looked to be you know what I've seen a lot this year is I've seen kids threaten the 3 point records in the first half because I saw Israel Limley of Newland and hit I think 5 in the first half. I don't think he had any in the second half against Mount Pleasant. The other night, Mount Pleasant's Ryan Helling had hit 4 threes in like the first 5 minutes. And so I've had a couple of those, and they haven't quite panned out to where I'm like, oh, this could be a record-breaking night, because those 3 point records are like 8, 9, eight or nine 3-pointers to break the record. So I think those are the only ones. The big one is the Clark game where it was like, oh, this kid is going crazy, and that's the first time I think I've seen a kid hit 50 points, maybe ever in high school basketball. That's a really big rarity.
Yeah, that's for sure. I saw Solon Yates. I didn't. I was watching on TV. I didn't get to see Sigourney too much, but Solon Yates did set the school record, I think, with 9 threes. And I saw him. I saw him set the record against Cardinal, but he got that. I think the Bird kid set a school record for assists. I think I don't know if that was career or single season record. I know that Cole Milliken set the career 3-point shot record, and Henry Adams set some single season records and with I think high assists and maybe some rebounds or something. I don't know, but another season goes by in the blink of an eye, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And we're kind of entering like the second season, and I hope it's a long bracket play here because it goes fast. And you know what? I told Jack we need to start appreciating that we're watching games inside because we're gonna blink, and it's gonna be the beginning of soccer track season. We're gonna be freezing our friggin' butts off for that first month when they have soccer games that are like 40 degrees. So trying to live it up while I can.
All right. Well, you got any assignments for Friday night or anything coming up or any games that you're going to be at that you're looking forward to covering? I guess you do have the
I
New London.
I'll be at the New London game tonight, which we're talking on Thursday. I'll be at Pekin and Waco girls. So tonight is the first tournament game. It's a girls tournament game for me. And then Saturday I have a game. Where the heck am I at Saturday? Saturday. What the heck am I doing on Saturday? I'm going somewhere on Saturday. I just don't remember anymore. It must be that Winfield. No, that Winfield game's not on Saturday. I don't know, I'm going somewhere Saturday.
All right. Well, I am certainly looking forward to Sunday to get the Cedar Rapids Titans. Got a few players with NFL experience on the team, and it's going to be a much improved team over last year. So that's Friday night or Saturday night at 5 o'clock, and you can get in for free with a pillow. And they're even going to have a pillow fight at halftime, and all the pillows are going to a homeless shelter or some kind of a charity. So it's a good cause and a good way to get into a game. And I don't think I got any more questions for you. I probably do, but my mind's kind of moving over to lunch. And did you get any good? Did you have any good food this year?
Ooh, they're having good food this year. That's a good question. But you know what? The best, I would say this for the last like 10 years, the best food choice in all of Southeast Iowa is the walking tacos in New London. They have the best ones. They've always had the best ones since I moved here. They just I don't know what's in that machine, but I'm gonna go ahead and get one of those on Friday night because I haven't got one of those. I've been to New London a couple times, but I don't think I've gotten one of those special walking tacos. So um, and other than that, man, I don't know that I've had. You know what? It's basketball season. You don't quite get the during baseball season. You get
That's where
the
I like the food.
you
I
get
tell
the
you,
good stuff.
I'm thinking
Yeah,
about the pork tenderloins in Kyoto or pork
yeah,
sandwiches. I mean, they're so good. I
yeah.
think I have one every game I go to.
Some of those baseball softball schools turned into almost like a barbecue slash baseball game because they have some good stuff. So I'm gonna try and eat well on Friday. I'll try and get some good concession stand stuff. But my number one recommendation is always the the walking tacos at New London. And my number one concession stand to get food at is Cardinal because then you can see the basketball scores and the stocks go across their little ticker while you're getting your food.
All right. Well, we've been talking to Andy Krutzinger, sports editor extraordinaire of the Southeast Iowa Union, who is blazing the trail every night. Probably has to put on about 4 sets of tires every year as he's burning the tread off, going up and down the areas covering all of his teams. I don't got anything else for you. You got anything to promote or anything about your work there that's going on that you want to tell people about?
Yeah, I mean, it just the Southeast Iowa Union. It's a 2 time a week paper. We're gonna have so many big pictures of basketball and wrestling. We had some girls wrestling last week. We have some of the boys wrestling state tournaments coming up here in about a week and a half. All sorts of other stuff. We had people go to state bowling, and so we'll be chock full of local sports there. And then of course we have Southeast Iowa Union video network, which is Southeast Iowa Live and Mount Pleasant Live, where you can watch our sports show, Prep Sports Plus. You can watch more. We have a morning show. I'm not on it, but Jack is sometimes. And Morning Breath, and then of course the live basketball broadcast. So it's like a TV station. You know what? We'll never we'll never take our product and sign and sign our souls over to like Netflix or something and make you guys pay a bunch of money for it. So head on over there and watch all those. And yeah, pretty much I'll see everybody around. See you at the games.
And as far as bowling goes, I've been enjoying watching bowling. A lot of games come on at 2:00, and I've been watching some bowling. But Fairfield had a kid, one of my favorite baseball players, Dyson, working for a living.
Yeah.
Working for a living there. He had a big game. I think he set a school record with the series or single game. But
he sure did. And then he won the conference later in the year. He won the conference individual championship just a couple weeks ago. So multi-sport stud there.
He's working for a living.
Yep.
Baseball, bowling, whatever you need him to do, he can do it for you. Thanks, Annie, for being with us, and good luck with your coverage this weekend and through the playoffs.
Thank you.